This week we look at South America, what it means to have a South American Pope, and how that impacts World Youth Day. This and more coming up next. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Vatican Connections. We are looking at the Church in South America, how it shaped our Pope, and how having a South American Pope can shape our Church. First, let's take a look at this prophetic interview that CNS did with George Weigel just before the conclave. He explores the challenges the Church and the Catholic faith are dealing with in South America and some potential areas to work on.
As for Latin America, first of all, let's be clear that the Church's ministry of charity and justice is an integral part of the new evangelization. We don't have new evangelization Catholics here and social justice Catholics over here. Secondly, in Latin America, what is called social justice Catholicism is primarily a phenomenon of elites, not of 500 million Catholics. Those 500 million Catholics are a huge challenge for the Church because their religion over 500 years has not shaped societies that raise up the poor and has deep elements of folk religiosity that need, frankly, purification. I was interestingly enough, I was test running certain ideas from the book Evangelical Catholicism in Argentina last May of 2012. And I found great interest in this. The serious churchmen I met with in Argentina, including the man who was the runner-up in the conclave of 2005, Cardinal Bergoglio of Buenos Aires, wonderful man, understand that the only future for Catholicism, which is now getting hammered from two sides, Pentecostalism, which has a great emotional appeal in Latin America, and secularism, transmitted by a globalized mass culture, mass media culture that's pretty destructive of traditional biblical faith and values, that the only future for the Church in Latin America is to stop being a church of cultural habit and to becoming a church of evangelical mission.
Of course, Cardinal Bergoglio walked out of that conclave wearing a white cassock. That meant for the first time, all of those issues facing the South American Church would be understood at the highest levels of church hierarchy. And for the first time, many Latin American Catholics were finding themselves reflected in the Roman Church. Regardless, the election of Jorge Bergoglio was a source of pride for all Hispanic Catholics, as Archbishop Jose Gomez explains.
All Catholics and even people of goodwill are excited about the pontificate of Pope Francis. But especially for us, the Latinos, it is a moment of joy, a sense of holy pride, because he's originally from Latin America. And I think it is a sign of the importance of the Latinos and the people of the continent of hope, as the popes have called the American continent, for the great numbers of Spanish-speaking Catholics that are in the world. In the United States, I think it is important for us to feel the responsibility of being an important part of the life of the Church. And the present or the future of the Church is in the American continent, in a sense, at least for the numbers of Catholics that we have in our continent. So at the same time that we have that holy pride, we also need to feel the responsibility of being apostles of Jesus Christ in the 21st century.
Now, we can understand all of this better if we look at how Latin American and South American Catholics live their faith and how Pope Francis ministers. Father Alejandro Crosswaith has more.
Yo con el nuevo Papa Francisco, me llega mucho. Se ve que es un hombre sencillo, no sé, como que más de Papa, se siente uno como abrazado de él, la familia.
Yo pienso que el nuevo Papa es lo mejor que han elegido, ya que en el pasado no estuve de acuerdo con cómo hicieron sus elecciones y creo que esta vez, por primera vez, han elegido un Papa que merece que nos represente todos en este planeta.
De los niños a los viejos, todos estamos felices porque nos ha tocado nuestros corazones y nos ha motivado para unirnos más.
Of course, one of the highlights of this first year of Pope Francis's pontificate will be his visit to Rio de Janeiro for World Youth Day 2013. Now, nobody, but nobody expected that this World Youth Day would include a pope from the country next door. The forecasts of how many pilgrims to expect jumped after the conclave, and the excitement is palpable everywhere.
Rio de Janeiro will welcome Pope Francis in July, when he joins millions of pilgrims for the celebration of World Youth Day. In Vidigal, a favela in southern Rio, his visit brings memories of the 1980 visit of Pope John Paul II. A street named after him is one of the reminders of his presence more than 30 years ago, but what he left behind is much greater. The Pope's visit spurred the rejuvenation of the neighborhood in dire need of better living conditions. Carlos Rojas has lived most of his life in Vidigal and was part of the committee that coordinated the Pope's visit. For the past 8 years, he has worked at the neighborhood's Catholic Church.
Quando o Papa veio ao Rio de Janeiro,
when the Pope came to Rio de Janeiro and it was announced that he was going to come to Vidigal, it was unbelievable. In those days, Vidigal was so behind. When the Pope said that he was coming to Vidigal, that caught the attention of the government.
E aí o governo começou a oferecer projetos.
Then the government began to offer projects, such as repairing streets and putting in streetlights. All that came to Vidigal for the community is related to the Catholic Church.
Tem a ver com a Igreja Católica.
On the other side of town, the community of Mandela is wondering if Pope Francis will visit them in July. In this recently pacified favela, a mass celebrates the countdown to World Youth Day.
This is a Rio de Janeiro made of faith. It is a happy Rio, a Rio that sings and claps and trusts, works and suffers. But it is a Rio that is getting stronger with the strength that comes from the Redeemer.
Far from the well-known beaches and touristic areas of the city, Mandela may be considered an unlikely destination for this celebration, but that is exactly what organizers are going for.
It is a recently pacified community, so we can see that in reality it is a safe community for pilgrims. Being here is safe. We also have the possibility of showing that the Catholic Church is needed everywhere, right? It is Jesus Christ who looks over all, and as he watches, he sees everyone.
In the same way Pope John Paul II left a message of hope for the poor in Vidigal, Brazilians are expecting a renewed legacy with this visit.
What we have seen during other World Youth Days is that after the event, there is a transformation in the way people live and the way they seek the truth. We hope to experience that in Rio, and that we will be able to, with this vision more centered on the youth, give space to these youth so that they can build a better world. We also hope that public policy is established to help the growth and strengthening of youth in our country.
From Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, this is Ellie Gardner for Catholic News Service.
As we mentioned, World Youth Day is going to be one of the highlights of the first year of Pope Francis's pontificate. It's made especially poignant because World Youth Day is in Brazil, and of course the Pope is from the country next door. And young people from around the world are preparing to come together for this festival of faith. They are also coming from all around the world to work to prepare World Youth Day. Joining us is Katarina Walkowizy, a Polish volunteer with the World Youth Day Local Organizing Committee. Katarina, first, tell us a bit about where you come from and how you came to work in Rio de Janeiro.
My experience with World Youth Day started actually in Cologne in 2005. I was supposed to go 2002 to Toronto, but some things happened with my family and the last minute I had to cancel. So I went to 2005 to Cologne. And from there, I was just always following the World Youth Day. Well, before I was following it on the television, but after that, I was following it tried live in Cologne. Then I went to Madrid 2011. I was not able to go 2008 to Sydney. And after Madrid, I thought and I told myself, well, I think I feel like I'm being called to help for the next World Youth Day. And it took me quite a while to actually get in contact with somebody here in Rio. I was looking for a very long time to how do you get in contact with someone straight from Rio here for the World Youth Day. And I was actually living in London by that time, and on my last day, there was like a Catholic event, Catholic Underground, and I met new people. We started talking about the World Youth Day in Rio, and one of the guys told me, well, I'm actually the main contact here for Europe for the communication department, and I know people, and I've been working with them from actually Rio, so if you're still interested, here's the email. I will introduce you, and then you take it from there. So yeah, that happened in last year. And yeah, then later the visa process took a little bit and all the paperwork, and I arrived here last month.
So you're in the final month, or 1 month away. What are some of the final things that are being prepared, and how are those preparations going?
Very busy, lots of work, and it's getting busier and busier. We see a lot of people coming in and out all the time. We have Italian security people coming in, Vatican bishops coming in and out there all the time. Lots of people coming and checking, is everything already, is everything prepared, or yeah. So yes, it's very busy.
So do you have any practical advice for the pilgrims? I mean, there's a lot of pilgrims right now making their final preparations to come to Rio. And I think especially one of the questions on their minds is, what's the weather like? Do you have any practical advice for them?
I would say just be happy. It's going to be an amazing event, especially with so many South Americans coming. So it's going to be double or even triple the size that we had in Madrid with all the Latin culture and singing around. So it's going to be an amazing experience, that's for sure. If somebody is thinking, like for me, it was first time that I came actually to South America, so I was quite not sure what to expect. Rio is just at the same kind of big city like New York or Paris. So you have to be, of course, careful, but there are amazing things going to be happening there. You're not gonna be by yourself here. There'll be thousands of different people. So just pack your bags. If you didn't register yet, register, and it's going to be an amazing experience, that's for sure.
Thank you, Katarina, for making time for us, and we'll see you in Rio.
Been waiting for so long, been traveling so much to get to you. You were the first one of my dreams. If you were inside me, you're all I need. The time has come, we're front to front, and we meet in Brazil. Love for you, I need. The world today is here. Love for you, I need. The world today is here. Feel all the passion of our share. Jumping, dancing, you long sad. We all are here. When we're together, we grow strong. Take my hand and raise your voice. The skies are clear. The time has come. We're front to front, and we meet in Brazil. Love for you, I need. The world today is here. Love for you, I need. The world today is here. Love for you, I need. The world today is here. Love for you, I need. The world today is here.
Vatican Connections is interactive. Send us your questions or comments by Facebook, Twitter, email, or post. Via email, send comments to info@saltandlighttv.org. And by post, send letters to 114 Richmond Street East, Toronto, Ontario, M5C 1P1, Canada. Well, that's it for this South American edition of Vatican Connections. Join us next week when we start looking towards the Pallium Mass in Rome and the end of our Vatican Connections season. We'll also start looking forward to World Youth Day. Follow us on Twitter @VatiConnections, or for World Youth Day information, visit wydcentral.org. For everyone here, thanks for watching and see you next time.